No man in the world. No man in the world.
The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create
The smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
Clutch your pearls and hide your children. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz, and joining me in the studio is my co-host, Amina.
Good morning. Good morning.
And by phone, we have our third co-host, Donna Davis.
What's up?
Hey, where you at today?
I am in the outlying hills of Atlanta, Georgia.
The hills are alive.
Yeah, I look out my window and I see the racist rock.
Oh, the Stone Mountain, yeah. You have my deepest sympathy on that.
Yes.
So tell us, what are we talking about today, Donna?
Okay, so today I'd like to bring on Alicia Oates, who was talking to Nikki Fried last week about the slumlord debacle over at Silver Oaks Apartments, and the mold and the mildew and the absolutely deplorable conditions that the residents are forced to live in there. Will be calling us around 10:30 or so.
Okay.
To give us the lowdown on that. I'd like to hear what our commissioner said. I'd like to hear what the NAACP is saying. I'd like to hear what the citizens and residents are saying about the issue.
Yeah. And let me give the Surly disclaimer right up top. The opinions expressed on Surly Voices are those of Surly Feminists for the Revolution and not necessarily those of WMNF or its affiliates. Anybody wants to talk about the Silver Oaks debacle, you can give us a call, 813-239-9663. You can email to dj@wmnf.org, or you can text to 813-433-0885. And this is the situation at Silver Oaks is so deplorable that even Marco Rubio actually did something. He sent one of his folks out there. He got in touch with the federal authorities, and so that tells you right there that, you know, it's so bad that even Marco Rubio can't ignore it. So, so our caller will be calling in around 10:30. What else is on the menu today, Donna? Surly menu.
Okay, so Elon Musk bought Twitter. Do we care? Is that some type of Jordan Peterson-esque, white guy tears club? Is that what Twitter's going to become? I already think. And I'd like to hear what Amina had to say about this. I think Twitter is a 30-something fight club for people. No, I'm serious. It's like the people in their late 20s to their late 30s that are angry with life and don't have anything to do, or people who are trying to make fetch happen, or people who do have, some significant number of followers that they feel that they have to perform for. It's all a farce. It is, drum roll please, Twitter is the least used of all the social media platforms. And although younger people say, oh, what is Facebook even for? It's still like in Instagram, the most used platforms in the world for social media right now, more than Snapchat and more than Twitter. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I care that Elon Musk has a little crybaby pen for him and his boys.
Yeah.
I don't care if Trump comes back. I just think that Twitter, I don't care about Twitter.
No, nor do I, but I know Amina tweets. Yeah, Amina?
I love Twitter.
Oh my God. That's what I mean, see?
You were spot on, Dee.
Like, I will die on Twitter.
Oh my God.
I just don't have the patience or the bandwidth for it, I'm afraid. It's like, oh my God, yeah. What is it appeals to you about Twitter so much?
One, I work in politics and communications, and I feel like I get my information fastest from Twitter. Everyone who is in that world is like, competing to get the first word or breaking story or announce something and end up on Twitter before it's anywhere else. So, or you can get a play-by-play of real-time incidents. So I enjoy getting that kind of look into what's going on. On the other hand, I think it's extremely funny. It's so funny. Like, I have had the best time on Twitter. There's these different pockets of communities. I think it could be a really great place. So there are a lot of pros and cons, but I think that, whatever is happening, I find it a little odd because I'm looking at the players who are supporting Elon Musk, and even the former chairman who stepped down said, like, he's the only one I trust with this. I don't know what that means. Yeah,
I wouldn't trust Elon Musk any farther than I could throw him, and I could probably throw him farther. Yeah,
I do not like him. But I don't think he is as right leaning as people are trying to. The right thinks this is a win for them, but I'm like, this is not a win for any of us.
It's a win for the oligarchy.
Yeah. So it's a win for money. I mean, that's the only thing. I think Twitter should be a public good. Or social media in general, there should be some kind of, it wants to be that. Like, it wants to be a democratic place where people can communicate. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, especially during the 2016 election, it was exposed that there's a lot of bots that, you can get something trending. So what you think is organic is not really organic. So I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I would like it to stay, and I would like to keep using it. I think Twitter is an amazing tool. If we could fix some of these tweaks that certainly make it a bad place to be and to use. I don't think that it's just 30-somethings on there. I think people of all ages are on Twitter. However, my age group is probably the one that's primarily using it.
It definitely has the generational imprint of angry people and people who mind other people's business. And I think, and I'm going to come down a little hard here, I think Twitter is a sad commentary on that generational ethos, right? Mm-hmm. I think that if Gen X is like, don't give a care, mind my own business, we're hanging out with 16-year-olds, right? We're hanging out with 16-year-old feminists, right, talking trash, having a wine, maybe even with the 16-year-olds. I don't condone this at home. It's illegal. I mean, we're just like, the gig economy came, long before. We don't believe we invented the world, right? And we didn't invent the world. All of this stuff has been going on since before we were born. The hairstyles and the lip color was different, but people are the same. Speaking of people being the same, I went to those Korean bath spas the other day, and people are still all the same. We're all the same with their clothes off, right? Like, you can't tell who's driving the Porsche outside. And I think that's something that I was having a conversation this morning. I don't want to ramble, but let me just say this. I was having a conversation on Facebook with someone about customer service. And so, like, there's a present, ethos that says that the general public is horrible and that people should push back in customer service spaces against bad behavior. Now, we all know that most people are standing in any line, are just going to pay for their things and leave, or they're going to order their food, eat it, and leave. The vast majority of people are not harassing the helpers, right? Mm-hmm. And I probably no more than it ever has been. I mean, a little bit post-COVID, silliness is going on in the airports. They see a little bit of it, but not like what you see on TikTok and on Twitter that makes you think that the general public has basically gone mad, right? And so there's this idea that you should tell these customers off when they come in. And I had to explain to this guy, Matthew, I said, listen, I don't believe that their plight is improved by being angry all the time. And so if you already have, and I see the generation deals with a lot of mental health issues, a lot of mental health challenges, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. And you don't improve that by being angry with people. And I think I've worked customer service when I was younger, and when people came in to talk, for me to provide a service for them, my job was to give them that service. And even if they were a little short with me, my job was to give them that service. Well, my sense of being a contributing member of society and being a capable person was improved by trying to do a good job. And then that led me to have the confidence to do other things. And then I became a well-paid professional, which I am now. I don't believe that telling yourself that your job sucks and that people suck and that the world sucks is what is going to improve these folks' mental health. I don't. I think that it's hard. I think these employers are going to learn some hard lessons one day really soon. I think that this is an untenable situation, these wages and these apartments like Silver Oak, and people aren't going to take it forever. And I think that's going to happen. But I'm wondering if it's going to be the same people who are angry all the time and on Twitter all the time, who are always talking about how terrible everything is. Those people are the ones who let Bernie down. Don't get me started on that, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is you just simply become impotent as a person if everything is outside of your ability to change and everything is always horrible. And I think Twitter is a place that just indulges that mentality, and that we're going to lose a generation to that behavior and that thought process.
I see your point. Twitter was the engine that Trump drove almost to an insurrection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, and reaching out to dissatisfied folks who won't necessarily get up and do anything about it, but he organized them, and they were dissatisfied enough and motivated enough to go and try to overthrow the government. So it takes a certain kind of mentality in leadership to be able to motivate these dissatisfied folks into action, because otherwise there's not really much action except sitting there and tweeting about it.
And being sad.
Right.
Right?
Sad and angry and blaming everybody else. And
I feel attacked. Sad and angry millennial.
Puffing on your vape and, being upset.
Yeah. And so it's a lot easier. I mean, it's, of course, Amina, I'm not attacking you, of course, because there are some folks who use it for work purposes and to get their information and to get stuff done. But I believe if you surveyed Twitter users, that's probably not what the majority of them are using it for.
I considered making a fake Twitter so I can be sad and angry freely.
You should, yeah. But so yeah, there's a huge population of folks out there who are just sitting there sad and angry and tweeting about it. And somebody like Trump comes along and taps in to those negative energies and start stuff that we don't want to see as a civilized society, or an alleged civilized society.
Yeah, and the fact that Elon Musk wants it for his new toy.
That tells me everything I need to know. It's like,
right. That it was Donald Trump's toy, and now it's Elon Musk's toy, is a pretty stark commentary on the value of Twitter in our society.
Right. We've got an email. Amina, do you have your glasses today?
I do. Hold on one second. I have the email up, though. But I will now. So we have...
And can I say this while you're pulling that email up?
Yeah,
sure.
Go ahead.
I also work in politics, right? All over the country. Like literally from 1 month, I don't know where I'll be after the Georgia primary, right? I don't know where I'll be. So I'm all over. I could be in Hawaii, right? I could be in, hell, one time I even got I was going to work on marriage equality in Ireland. So I don't know where, I'm going to be. Let me tell you this. In my world, we're not the forward facing because there are different aspects. It's like being an engineer. There are 50 different types of engineers, right? And so I don't work in that forward facing, even in the most, I would say I don't work in that forward facing part of politics. And so what my morning report looks like is where the ad buy dollars are going, right? When I'm on a consultant's call, we're talking about the ad buys. We're talking about direct mail design. We're talking about the numbers of people that are positively identifying for our candidate. We're talking about doctoring our script because people have questions that are not being answered. They're calling the campaign headquarters and asking questions, or they're getting angry on the doors, and we're changing those scripts. We're talking directly to the voters. Like, if anything is going to impact, like, whether or not people are showing up for candidates, it's the fact that we're talking to voters, and then we're making a composite of what the voters are saying, and then giving that back to people who can make changes. I'm usually one of those people that can make changes. I'm sometimes one of the people that is manning the storefront with the direct contact with the voters. And we don't deal with any of this stuff. And as a matter of fact, I just want to say this. When I was in Minneapolis and we were working on police reform, it was the left versus the left, right? It was the left of center versus the further left, right? I don't want to say far left because it's being used as an expletive. So the far left, the further left people tormented the left of center people, and they followed them, they tweeted about them, and they used Twitter as their tool of derision. Yeah. So, I mean, my experience with Twitter and politics is not, getting the tea first.
Right.
That is a destructive tool that is going to have far-reaching repercussions on our society as a whole. When we look back on Twitter in 50 years, we're going to be like, what the hell did we use it?
Yeah.
I don't know, so since social media came about, there have been a number of these sites that were in like beta phases that people were using, and they kind of fell off. Like MySpace, for example, was one that we were all on, and then no one was using it after Facebook came along. Yeah. So I've also wondered the same thing, like if these platforms, the longevity of them or what they will morph into. Like we had Vine, and then Vine was shut down, and then we got TikTok, which is the same kind of concept, these short videos. But from we studied in school in communications the concept of like the public sphere and what Habermas, the philosopher, called it like the backbone of democracy, where people come together and debate. And this was something that it used to be like they'll go in coffee shops or public spaces to talk about these things and have political discourse. And the same philosopher completely rejected the concept of social media serving that purpose. And I thought that was really interesting because as everything Donna's saying, like everything that it was used in a negative way, there are examples where it was used in the same sense but in a positive way. For example, to help people on the ground organize and use Twitter as a way to communicate, or use social media platforms in general, like the encrypted Signal, for example. We've used Signal before. But I think that what people are misunderstanding is free speech versus hate speech being allowed. And I don't to me, that's where I'm seeing a complete disconnect. They don't get it, that these are different. Like free speech is protected, but hate speech is not something that you can freely go out there. It's not a green light for that. And this is something that I feel like people are seeing this as.
Or disinformation. I mean, it's and to even bring the topic, free speech has no application in the private sector. Free speech is a government.
Exactly.
It's a government thing. And so a private company is allowed to censor, whatever they like. For example, sometimes this private company, WMNF, censors. And that's just the way it is because they have the power to say, no, this is our company and you're not going to say these words. So,
right, and it's a style thing, right? Like their particular mission and style, will support certain things and not certain others.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I feel like, I'm fine with that. If I wanted to die on that hill, then I would not be I would have to find another platform.
Exactly. Let's see. Let's read this email, Amina, from Jeff.
Jeff said, Twitter is a good, the computer shut down. Okay. It's doing that thing where it blinks on and off.
Yeah.
Sorry. He said, Twitter's a good place for political discourse. People from different sides of issues can present their perspectives and there can be open debate. I don't like the idea of people being censored. The only thing that needs to be banned are things that are clearly inciting violence or pornography. Maybe Musk can make it better, but if we are in a place where we have to pray that billionaires do things in a fair way, that is not a good thing.
Well, Elon Musk is not going to do anything in a fair way. Elon Musk will do what is best for Elon Musk at all times. Not an altruistic type of person. For example, if he wanted to do good for society, he could have taken that $44 billion and cured homelessness, bought everybody a year's worth of insurance. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, although I do think it's not one of the 7 words. Buying Twitter was a dick move on Elon Musk's part. It's, mine is bigger than Bezos and everybody else's, and I'm going to prove it. Bang. And so it's not for anybody's good except Elon Musk's that he did that. Thoughts?
I think that makes sense to me. I think it fits. It's aligned perfectly with Twitter. And sometimes Facebook, I don't know if you've ever seen some of those groups on Facebook, and the way people pile on with state-sponsored violence or, some poor person, some poor black woman gets involved and she leaves her baby in the car and, someone calls the police and they're like, yeah, these people shouldn't have children. They should be spayed and neutered. And the racism,
yes,
and the free medical advice in some of these groups too that are causing harm. Like it's a wild place out there. But let me say this: the Twitter brand is just the Twitter brand. The Meta brand is just the Meta brand. We are not going to have things on social media that aren't running rampant in our society. So these places where people come together. This discourse that we're having in this air quote virtual public square is less than civil in most cases.
Right.
Anything goes. People are out here ruining their careers. Don't think about the number of, while we're talking about the uses and the benefits, think about the number of people who have ruined their careers, destroyed themselves, canceled themselves by speaking out in a way that Twitter decides is untenable.
Right.
Twitter decided it, right? Twitter decided it. So, I think that the public discourse as it's happening is a pure reflection of the worst of our society. And I think it gets concentrated in that space. And maybe it's unfair for me to come down as hard if I, look at both sides of it. But it's just because it's simply a reflection of what we are. Like, it can't come out of us if it's not a part of us, right?
Well, and then people feel free to say things that they would never give voice to in actual public. And so it's like some of these folks, you read some of these hateful things, and it's like, who raised you and who harmed you? Why are you saying these things?
Right.
So, yeah, it's given a level of anonymity to these awful opinions that civilized people shouldn't be having. So.
Right, like it's what do they call it? Call it camera balls. When you know that the world is watching you, or you know that you have an audience, and so you bring it. You present yourself and you say things that you wouldn't say if you weren't performing. And I think that's the thing that I'm getting at. I think what I'm getting at is people know that others are watching. I've got 40,000 followers. I've got to, I got to say something.
Right.
And that sense of needing to not let there be just, I'm an entitled person that has to have a say on this. Kim Kardashian, who's like $1 billion in the bank, was raised with money.
Right.
Telling women that they should be working at all times.
Yeah. Well, she's got like probably 1 million nannies behind.
Oh my God. Like, is this lady serious? And I was like, I was looking at a video where the kids, North had made this video and at her birthday party. And I was like, the carpet on the stairs was dirty.
Ew.
Now, yeah. And everything is like white. It's like a little tomb. It's like
right.
Narnia, the White Witch's castle, right? which is fitting, but I digress. And I often defend Kim because I feel like she's a place where people can put a lot of their angst down, about not having achieved or obtained the things that they want. And I often remind person, that's a human woman.
Right.
Right. That's a human woman, a mother who bore children, a woman who was married to a man that she probably at one time cared deeply for. And you can't just take her. This is what I mean about Twitter. Twitter, that anonymity that allows people to just drag someone because they're wealthy or famous.
Right.
Or well-placed all over the place. But the carpet was dirty, and I thought, I wonder how many moms don't have nannies, work as hard as she says that she believes she does, but doesn't really understand when you have to feed your children, pick your children up, nurture your children, listen to them, go to your job, put up with the mess, keep your house clean, remember the dry clean, right?
Yes.
And their carpet isn't dirty. So she needs to have a seat. And
Right.
I use that as a marker of like...
If you got dirty carpet, you don't have a say.
Right. You can't pay someone to clean your dirty carpet. Have a seat, man.
We have some callers on the line. Let's talk to David in Tampa. Hi, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going with you?
Good. The thing that worries me about Elon Musk is that I think of him as almost like a modern day Gilded Age kind of robber baron. And I just worry that he's just getting far too powerful, and it's kind of unchecked power. And I don't know. It just concerns me a lot, that.
As it should.
Yeah. I think that's an absolutely valid point. Although I wouldn't call him a robber baron. I would call him, like Lex Luthor or something, I think he's an evil genius. There you go.
Yeah, that's that. Well, I could see that too, but it's all kind of like the robber barons, just kind of driven by greed and power, And,
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely concerned about him trying to buy out Twitter. I don't know what's next. Like, what else is he going to buy next?
Right. Apparently, everything has a price. Yeah.
I think he's at McDonald's this morning to fix their ice cream machine.
Oh.
Hostile takeover of McDonald's. Yeah.
Isn't there a tweet or a Twitter page for like the ice cream machine?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
It's is it working today? No.
Oh, I love that. I think that's really creative. That's pretty cool.
All right. Well, thank you for calling, David.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Now we have Dave in Tampa. Hi, Dave in Tampa.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm listening to you talk about social media in the context of public square, and I think that's the wrong metaphor or analogy.
Uh-huh.
I think the social media in this country is set up as a set of corporate algorithms designed to maximize profits.
Yes,
And
it's all about capitalism. Thank you.
Right, and it drives people into silos, information silos, where they're isolated, not a public square. What we need from social media is to drive people out of their silos into a true commons, where they can weigh different ideas and different information and come to consensus. And that's exactly what happened in Taiwan. And I've called you guys before about this. You need to look at V as in Victor, Taiwan. That's a social media site it's a woman named Audrey Tang, came from Google to Taiwan and was largely responsible for setting up kind of the anti-Facebook there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was instrumental in taking out what was essentially an oligarchic republic like we have here and in other countries, so-called Western democracies, and made it much more democratic through social media. And I think it's a model for this country and for other Western democracies that are struggling right now in this global information war that's going on and being driven by people like Elon Musk. He bought Twitter, I think, to wage information war, disinformation war. And it's an effective tool for that. And I don't think we have an answer yet, except in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to look into that. Yeah, let's look into that, Amina. We'll try to revolutionize.
I wish you would.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it justice in a 30-second phone call, but you could in an hour.
Yeah.
No, definitely will. Thank you.
Thanks so much,
All right.
Dave. Talk to you
Sure.
soon.
Bye.
All right. We have Alicia on the phone now, Donna.
Well, before we get her on the phone, we have one more email, and this is from Walter. He said, I am new to Twitter. I realized I could mute or block people that were hateful to me and not have to argue with them or engage in back and forth insults. In the last 2 months, I have gotten over 1 million impressions per month and gotten my message across. And I don't know what that message is. I hope it's a good one, Walter.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
Can I say this about Dave? I think that Dave is wrong, right? I think it's smart and it's well thought out, but I think it's wrong. I think that if the conversation around the proverbial water cooler is about what's happening on Twitter, then Twitter is the de facto source of real public square information, which he maintains that Twitter is not. Got it. So if people are talking about, it used to be what happened on Merv Griffin, right? Or Phil Donahue, or some of these were kind of borderline before my time. Dinah Shore, right? And so people would come in and they would say, "Did you see Roy Moore on throw the chair at the white supremacist on Phil Donahue?" And then that became a part of the tone and the tonale and the tone of the public discourse. And so if Melissa Milano, fighting with Susan Sarandon on Twitter or Kanye threatening Pete, and everybody in the audience, no matter the age, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean. When everybody knows what the conversation is, that's the public square. Now, whether or not it's being artificially manipulated by the corporate oligarch is a second question, right? Yeah, and I think that we would all agree that the conversations are being manipulated for profit and for show, and it's become a form of entertainment. Yes, to all of those things that Dave said. But where is the other conversation? If Twitter is not the source of what people are centering in the public discourse, what is? Because I'm not hearing it. It's not coming out of the newspapers, right?
Right,
it's not
right.
It's not coming off of the television. And so maybe we talked about Bridgerton for 4 days, and True Love and how inspirational that one scene was. But that is by no means a tiny percentage of what people are compelled to talk to each other about. People are talking to each other about a video of two people dancing in the rain in New Orleans and YOLO, right? Like, the conversation is being derived from the public square. And the last thing I'll say before we bring on Alicia is this. The schools in Taiwan, the public education, this is a society of people that have been alienated and have held on to each other. And this is true for a lot of nations with different types of government and different types of paths and origins in the United States. The United States past is literally rooted in division and theft and murder and oppression of various groups at the expense of others, right? And so because of that, and because of our failing schools for 50 years that don't teach people anything about what they are and what humanity is, on the other side, our public discourse is colored by that. And so you're not going, if you leave people alone, and you subtract the corporate oligarchs and their manipulation of the public discourse, and you're still going to have some really rough stuff going on because we have 13 countries patched together. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, I disagree with you, and I do agree with Dave, but I'm not going to tell you why right now. We're going to talk to Alicia before she hangs up on us. Hi, Alicia.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
So thank you so much for coming on our show today and talking about the very deplorable conditions at Silver Oaks. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on for the folks who aren't keeping up with it.
Silver Oaks is an apartment complex that is owned by Cambridge Management. Those residents are living in homes with rats, feces coming up in the tub, feces coming up in front of their doors, mold, black mold everywhere. We have a parent over there who woke up with a rat in the crib with her newborn baby.
Oh my God.
So, and nobody wants to take responsibility of what's going on over there. Everyone is passing the buck. No, it's not HUD, it's not the city, it's not the county. So we just have a lot of, no one should live like that. No one should be living like that, especially when they're receiving funding and received a lot of PPP money to make sure those residents aren't living in that way.
And so the whole story wasn't gaining much traction until these pictures of the interiors started to go viral. Because I know that the residents have been trying to get things taken care of for years. And it wasn't until, and if you haven't seen the pictures, go ahead and Google up Silver Oaks, Tampa, and you will be appalled.
Correct. And because of Facebook, we were sharing the pictures and tagging everyone we can think of, elected officials, in every news station that we can think of. And until then, no one was paying them any attention.
Oh my gosh.
So here's an example of social media actually doing something for good. Because now, tell us, Arlisha, what's going on now? What's being done, if anything, or is it people just talking about it?
Right now, they are patching up everything, which is the problem because they want to patch up everything instead of fixing it. So they're painting over the mold, or they're spraying some type of mold-resistant stuff over it instead of them fixing the issue. So,
yeah, that's not.
No one's being held accountable for it, so they're able to just patch it up and do just enough to get by.
Right. And that cannot possibly be consistent with building codes because when you have mold in a place, you have to do mold remediation and stuff like that. And so I had heard that Rubio had gotten HUD involved. Have you guys seen anything like that going on?
Well, my understanding, Overman had a meeting with HUD and some city officials and some county officials, and HUD was just saying that they never had issues with Cambridge Management before. Like, they were just saying this was like the first time ever, which it was very interesting to hear that because you can go back further than this situation where this has been an ongoing thing with Cambridge Management not fixing things or having deplorable living conditions for their residents in other properties. So it was very interesting to hear HUD co-sign that, this is something new.
Now this might be why Marco Rubio gets involved because maybe he. I'm going to go down a long, deep rabbit hole here.
Do it.
Because when I heard that Marco Rubio, of all people, got involved in this, I'm like, something's up here. And so now that you're saying that HUD has pretty much co-signed whatever's going on, that makes sense now. So, yes, okay. And I'll bet, like most other things, I'm speculating, this is not a fact, but I will bet that money has changed hands at some point.
Correct, because we still can't find out who's the actual owner of Cambridge, because it goes from Cambridge to an organization called South Point, who goes to a gentleman named Peter Leach, who says he has nothing to do with South Point. It has nothing to do with Cambridge. So we still can't find out where's the money, who's getting the money. Someone's getting a lot of money, and for some reason that information is being a secret.
And when you say somebody's getting a lot of money, it's come out that they've gotten PPP loans to fix this?
Yes.
Wow.
They received PPP. I don't know what they received it for, but they received the PPP money. We checked the records on that. And with it being subsidized housing, they receive a lot of funding.
Yeah. You would think, that HUD would be all, I mean, because I can look at these pictures, and I mean, I know folks who have worked in sanitation and inspecting and things like that. And I'm going to send in some of these pictures and see what they have to say.
But Liz, I bet you could find it.
Find what?
I bet you somebody needs to do the research. Right?
I'm going to do some research on Cambridge management too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know you are.
And yeah, this story is not going to go away as easily as I think it will, because
this is not the first time either. I mean, it wasn't this company, but there was Section 8 housing that was found to have asbestos in the walls. Like the walls were still built with that. And when the news came out, it broke in Tampa Bay Times. Did the city do something to fix it, or the county committed money to fix that? But if no one speaks out, these people are just being ignored. This is ridiculous.
Right, because they're not wealthy and they don't have power and they don't have access.
I mean, somebody's wealthy because of it.
But it's not the residents of these horrible slums, you could call them, because they're not doing anything to make these places habitable. I don't see how they're. Oh my gosh, this. So many thoughts and so many things, and this is something we're going to keep an eye on, Erlisha, because they're not going to be able to get this swept away.
No, and there is a mother over in Jackson Heights apartment that's owned by Cambridge as well. She had a baby. She brought her baby home. Her baby, and a month later, had pneumonia and a collapsed lungs from the mold.
Oh my gosh.
That baby has a lot of health issues because of the mold.
So yeah, this is something that we're going to talk about, how we can best help elevate this story, and maybe that involves getting some residents in here and talking to them. Mm-hmm. Maybe it involves a site visit to inspect some of these quote unquote repairs. But we're going to keep this boiling hot. This tea is boiling hot.
Yes,
what is Rubio saying?
Yeah. Rubio wrote a letter to HUD, and that was it. He pretty much brushed his hands.
He didn't do, like, after the mayor said she received a commitment from HUD that they would inspect every unit and make the necessary changes, then Rubio was like, I'm going to write a letter to make he wrote a letter to HUD to make sure they inspect everything and make the necessary changes.
Well, this is something I'm going to take a deep dive into. And so
taking a deep dive, Liz, take a deep dive into this. When they remodeled the Lee Davis Center, a couple of people got cancer.
This is enraging.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. And it was mesothelioma type cancers, right? Mm. When you haven't smoked. But, and one person died, and the lady that I was talking to was wearing an oxygen cannula, and she wasn't retired yet. She was a little older than me.
Wow.
Nobody
oh my gosh.
talked about it. The city knows. The city knows. And they decided that rather than take on the city, that they had good health care already, and that there were several people, 3 or 4 people, that actually had lung conditions that were in that building when they did those renovations before they, That's why
I know the perfect person to look into this.
God, I hope they have legal representation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. Yeah. But
They're afraid of retaliation. We had the security officer walking by making threats to the single mom. And, right now with the housing crisis, they don't have anywhere else to go. So a lot of the parents are afraid.
yeah. Justifiably so. I mean, because, you can't. I mean, there are people, more and more people becoming homeless in Tampa every day because there is absolutely no affordable housing out there. And if there's a 2-year waiting list and a bunch of qualification criteria. It's. I've never seen rent so high. I had a relative staying with me for a while. She was going to move down here. And she had 2 jobs and still could not afford to have her own apartment. So she went back to Virginia.
So let me ask you a question, Erlisha. What would help if people from the community wanted to help? Is there anybody? I'm actually, my husband understands mold very well of Lynn's cleaning and maintenance. He understands it. And he would be able to, Wynn might be able to help some individual families in there that are really struggling with that, right? Because that's what he does. And if there's anyone that would like to assist them with the immediate need of making their apartments more inhabitable and safe, like for newborn babies, because rat feces carries hantavirus, which can be very dangerous to children and older people. There are a lot of different risk factors involved here. I can see they're like stacked on top of each other. What resources do you have, and what resources do you need right now?
Right now, we just want people to continue making those phone calls to the elected officials that can make changes, make decisions, because there's no reason those residents are in the homes while they're making the repairs.
Right.
So that's not okay. But no one wants to make that decision of saying, hey, well, we're going to put these people in a hotel and come in and actually fix it and not patch it up. So just making those calls, reaching out to those elected officials that make decisions. And down the line, we know that there's going to need to be some laws changed, because at the beginning, they kept telling us, oh, there's nothing the county could do, the city could do, we have to call Tallahassee. And that's not okay. Why are we calling it Tallahassee with an issue here in Tampa that the city or the county code enforcement should have been able to handle? Mm-hmm. So I know down the line that's something that needs to happen. But right now, just calling those elected officials and demanding that they treat those residents in Silver Oaks like they're humans.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Erlisha, and talking to us about this situation. And like I said, this is something that, I mean, it's just so appalling, and even more appalling that they're trying to just whitewash it literally and get away from it. So we will be keeping an eye on it. I'm hoping you'll join us for future shows and giving us updates as time goes on.
Yes, and thank you so much. I mean, any research, like, follow the money. Someone's getting the money, and we definitely need to follow the money and see why. Where's the money, and what are they doing with it? Because it's not keeping up with the vote.
Right.
So one last question. So these HUD dollars come through the county commission?
That I don't know. Every time I ask a question as it relates to HUD and funding, I get let me research that. I'll give you a call back. And it's been a month, and I'm still waiting on calls back as it relates to, like, where's HUD funding coming from? Where is it going? How is it getting to the management? Who's the manager? Like, no one wants to answer those questions. Well,
I think the federal money is coming down through the county, right? This is where all of the large federal funds are distributed, right? The county seat is always like the seat of power when it comes to big dollars, federal dollars. And so because HUD is a federal program, then the county, so are we putting leverage? I know we're talking to the senator, but are we putting leverage on our county commission to ask them how these dollars are going to vendors that are not providing the service, a safe service for taxpayers.
Right. So
That's
we,
the
like I
next
said, we spoke with Overman, and she's the only one that has been researching and
Okay.
having. She actually had that meeting with all of the entities, DVPR, HUD, cities, and all of them was on one call to try to find out something is missing. And they, even on that call, no one knew what no one was supposed to do. Everybody was like, "Oh no, I thought it was you. Oh, I thought it was you. Oh, I thought it was you."
Yeah. Yeah.
Government tax dollars at work. Okay, so I think that's where we bookmark, and then that's where you know. And I will have another conversation with you because I think that there's more work there, and I so appreciate you. And I'm sorry we had to scramble this morning, but we'll have a plan for the next visit for the update.
Thank you. Sounds good. You have a great day, ladies.
Thank you,
for all your
Arlisha.
work.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Man, so yeah, we got a lot. My daddy just lost one of his post-retirement jobs, so now he's got some time on his hands, and he's the perfect person to do this. So he's got the qualifications, let's put it that way. All right.
Good.
Marilyn in Bradenton, how are you?
Oh, boy, you guys can go on and on and on and on. I like it. You were talking about that Twitter earlier and all of this, whatever, sensationalism. And it just takes me back to when I was like 12, and my brother was in Vietnam, and his wife stayed with us, and she constantly bought that Inquirer.
Yes.
It was like an addiction. And I said, that's not all true. She goes, I don't care. It's fun.
Yeah. Misinformation. Yeah.
I never.
I'm sorry, but there were straight up like aliens and UFOs on that cover. That's so the fact
Everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
That too. And
Yeah.
Elvis, always Elvis.
Well, and yeah, it's entertainment. I'm saying this as a former Inquirer reader myself.
Same, right here.
My coworkers would shame me to death. It's like, I can't believe you read that stuff, and I'm like, it's entertainment. I don't take it seriously, and so I think if you go at it at that vein,
you participated.
yeah.
They did. Okay, there was one time they broke a real news story, and I looked at it. I don't remember what it was, but I looked at it and I'm like, that can't be real. And it turned out they broke the story.
Right.
I got to find out what that story was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Everybody remembers that, but what that is.
But what exactly it is, we don't know.
I do remember they did some kind of investigation, and they found out something true.
It's true.
I do remember that. Yeah, I'm hoping you can Google that answer up real quick, Amina, because now it's going to bother me all day.
But
yeah, that's a great point, though, Marilyn. It's before we had social media, we had the Inquirer and things like that, and I'm sure. I mean,
Star and all blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we thank you very much for calling, and hope you'll listen to us again.
I listen to you now and then. It depends.
Oh, okay.
It depends on how thoroughly you are. All right, gals. You have a great. Stay kind. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Marilyn.
You too. Thank you.
I always love to hear people from, especially outside the Tampa area, call in and tell us what's on their mind. The Silver Oaks thing, we're going to get to the bottom of. Now, here's Donna in the last remaining seconds of the show why I disagree that Twitter is the public sphere. It's because Twitter it has got a self-selected sample of participants.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that blows the whole thing for me. It's like, no, this is not a true public square. This is the people who choose to go on Twitter. Like, for instance, I'm not on Twitter with any regularity.
Right. Me either.
Yeah, and I do all my scrapping on Facebook. So
no, I don't think it's a public square. I think that a lot of the conversation in the public square, the topics are being provided by places like that.
Right.
That are out of touch with the rest of the population.
Exactly. All right. So thank you all for joining us today, and hopefully we will see you again next week. You've been listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5.
Thank you.
stunning. I like shining. I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? I'm signing. I like those Balenciagas.
Live